بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا وباركا فيه والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. Alhamdulillah, the Shaykh in his book was next talking about in terms of the value of time, the perspective that people have with regards to the past, the present, the future. We mentioned last time about how he divided people up into three categories as people who are slaves of the past, worshippers of the present, and then those that are guardians of the future. And we talked a little bit about the slaves of the past, and some of these things are easy to understand. But he talks about the different ways that people tend to look at their future or that which is coming up, and talking about the pessimistic outlook sometimes that people have about the future. This in general just describes people, but specifically when you have narrations from the Prophet ﷺ that foretell that in the future there will be trials, there will be trouble, there will be difficulties. So when you know something negative is coming up, how does one choose to react? And so he says, he mentions a narration from the Prophet ﷺ where he said, "ستكون بعدي فتن كقطع الليل المظلم." قلت the Rawi, that was Ali ibn Abi Talib رضي الله عنه. He said, وما المخرج منها يا رسول الله؟ قال كتاب الله فيه نبأ ما قبلكم وخبر ما بعدكم وحكم ما بينكم. Ali radiallahu anhu narrates the hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that he said that after me, after I die, you will see a lot of problems. You will see a lot of trials and tests that will come your way. And historically, after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, there were a lot of issues that happened within the ummah, within the community of Muslims, even to the point where it got really bad where the Sahaba had to take sides, even sometimes against each other. But he mentioned that there will be a lot of issues that will come after me, one after another. And Ali radiallahu anhu, he asked him, what is the way that we get out of something like this? And he says, Kitabullah, right? You have to hold tight to the book of Allah. It has, it tells you about those that came before you. It tells you about what's going to come after. And it tells you how to judge between yourselves, right? It tells you how to solve these problems and issues between yourselves. But you have this outlook on, the Prophet ﷺ telling his Sahaba that there's going to be trouble and all this stuff that's going to come. In another narration, he mentioned, "Inna min waraikum ayyam as-sabr," that ahead of you there are days that will require a lot of patience, a lot of sabr, a lot of restraint. As-sabru fihinna mithlu al-qabdi ala al-jamr. That being patient in those days will be like holding on to a hot coal. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to show sabr. And he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Al-amili fihinna ajru 50 rajulan ya'maluna mithluhu." That one man on that day who does the right thing will be equal to 50 men. And the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, they asked him, "Ajru 50 minhum," that 50 of them. And he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ajru 50 minkum," that 50 of you, meaning 50 of the Sahaba. Like there's come a time where holding on to your iman, holding on to the deen is going to be very difficult. And the Prophet ﷺ saying that the person who does so in that moment will be like 50 of his companions, 50 of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu ajma'in. But all of this points to one more narration in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "In qamat as-sa'a wa fi yadi ahadikum fasila," that if you see the last hour happening right before your eyes, meaning everything is being destroyed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is finishing off this world, and you have in your hand a small sapling, a tree that you're about to plant, something you're about to plant into the ground. فَإِنِ اسْتَطَاعَ أَنْ لَا يَقُومَ حَتَّى يَغْرِسَهَا فَلْيَغْرِسَهَا. And he said, if you're able to, before you get up, right, because the world is collapsing around you, right? You're not just going to sit there, you're going to be scared, right? Everything is, Allah mentions, كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ, everything will be destroyed, right? And you're going to see the destruction. He mentions, إِذَا السَّمَاءُ إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, the sun being wrapped up, the stars falling down, all these things that are happening. So the Prophet ﷺ said, you're about to plant something, but before you get up and run, when you see all this happening around you, if you're able to finish planting it before you get up, put it in the ground and plant it, right? Put it in the ground. And what is the point? What is the point of planting a little sapling or a little tree or whatever when everything around you for sure is going to be destroyed? But there's almost no point in doing so. And one of the things he taught sallallahu alaihi wasallam from this hadith is that the results are not in your hand. But if you can do the right thing, you can do the good thing, you do whatever it is you're capable of doing, the results are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so that's when the end of the world is happening, right? But sometimes we have a pessimistic outlook. We think everything is against us. We think nobody's going to help us. We think, we don't have a chance if we do something. And so that holds us back from even trying, holds us back from even doing something, taking action in the first place. But that's not what the Prophet ﷺ taught. Even if the world is collapsing around you, do the one thing you can do, right? And that's a very important way to have, it's an outlook to have in life in terms of how you view the future. Not being pessimistic, not being afraid to take some risks, doing the right thing, whatever it is, even if it feels like you're not going, it's going to be no benefit whatsoever to do something like that. And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us that the outlook that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, which again made him very brave, not afraid to take risks. And again, these things that we do, we seek the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just the dunya. We don't seek just the dunya with our steps. We seek the reward from Allah Azza wa Jal. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant it to us. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.